please like our video and subscribe to RotoWire. Then go to rotowire.com/pod for a free 10-day trial.
Hey everybody, welcome to the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast, the Sunday night / Monday morning version, although we're recording a little bit earlier today, so some of you may get it all on Sunday night. I am Scott Jenstad, joined as always by Jeff Erickson. Today we have a special guest, Scott Pianowski from Yahoo Sports is joining us. We're doing a special episode. We're doing our 2021 draft targets, our My Guys episode. We're going to go position by position, talk about someone that each of us are really targeting in drafts that we're doing or have done or are doing in the next 10 days or so. If you could please rate or review the podcast, it'd be fantastic. Goes a long way towards helping people find the podcast, which is always a good thing for us. Jeff, how is everything with you today?
Good. It was nice to spend a weekend at home, and a lot of sports going on. Lots going on. 2 drafts yesterday. Did AL Tout Wars and my AL Home League, original 4x4 old school league. It's the one that started Roto News / RotoWire. So yesterday was a busy draft day, but hey, those are always fun.
Yeah, we got 4 main events that have finished. We got some numbers from there to look at. So there's a lot of stuff going on. Before we really jump into news and notes, jump into our targets, Scott, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell people where they can find you on Twitter, where you write, etc., so everybody can find you.
Sure. Scott Pianowski, Yahoo Fantasy, Twitter, Scott_Pianowski, and.
So Scott, let's start at catcher, a tough position. Let's assume a 2-catcher league when we're doing this, so it kind of opens up the pool a little bit. Who are you finding yourself trying to get with behind the plate this year?
Yeah, catcher. I have a fair amount of Christian Vasquez. I wish he was batting higher than 8th, but I think the Red Sox still have a deep lineup. So he's done it 2 years in a row. I look like the 2019 came out of nowhere, but I feel like what he did last year in 2 months validates it. If you're going cheap, Wilson Ramos, 261 ADP and NFBC over the last week. I don't see any reason why he can't hit 14 to 17 home runs, which perfectly plays as a number 2 catcher. I actually find myself liking a lot of number 2 catchers. And I'll mention just for the Yahoo people, or in some other leagues too, but not in NFBC, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, who I think is a very average at best player. He may even be below average when it comes to OPS plus. He's going to play every day. He still holds catcher eligibility in Yahoo. So you might get 500 plus at bats from this guy, and he might even be their leadoff hitter. Again, the lineup is enough to make you cry, but I don't know, 6 or 7 home runs, maybe 11 or 12 stolen bases, 75 runs. I think they're all in play for him if you can get him as a grandfather catcher, and I know you can do that in Yahoo. I wouldn't take him in formats as a shortstop.
Yeah, you get a dozen stolen bases out of your catcher anywhere, and that's gold.
Yep, and our almost weekly reminder: know your format. Know where you're playing. Sure. Know the eligibility rules. Don't get caught flat-footed on that. Don't start carping about eligibility rules in the middle of your draft.
Important because some leagues are grandfathering in 2019, right? They're different. I've seen people in tout get confused because the NFBC positions are different than the tout positions, are different than the labor rules, and it's hard because I get it. You look at those constitutions, they read the whole thing, but I find myself. It's like the first rule of fantasy is know what your rules are and know where the nuances are. And I still find myself making a mistake I shouldn't every year because I haven't done the diligence there that I need to. It's one of the most important hacks going in fantasy sports and especially in baseball.
Yeah, and
NFBC went from 20 to 7 with the shortened season, so there's a lot more multi-eligible guys than normal.
Yeah, and tout went from 15 to 5, and then. Yeah, and so that's a big difference too. And it's just you know it. And for that matter, it's not just the positions, but also know about the weird players, i.e. Shohei Ohtani. Know ahead of time. If you don't know what the rule is, ask. It's just that's an important one. But it's every league, every platform is different with him. There's some that's the 2 Ohtanis, some it's you have to choose at the beginning of the week. Some you get them all the time if you're in a daily moves league. Just maybe you disagree with how it's being done, but know it.
Who's your catcher, Jeff?
So I found myself with a lot of Will Smith early on. Now that I pretty much conceded there's no DH, I've been kind of shying away from the price. But at the back end of that top pack, I like Travis Darno quite a bit. I think he's like the 7th catcher drafted. You get him around pick 150, 155. And honestly, I put James McCann in that packet, but he's not getting drafted as such. He's in the main event. His ADP is so far as 210, the range of 177 to 246. And I think he belongs in that discussion, maybe at the trail end of that pack, but lots of playing time with the Mets and a good lineup. I think his gains were for real. So yeah, I think, and I like taking a chance on him. Now, if you're going to go really late, give me Ryan Jeffers, give me Alejandro Kirk, although he's starting to get a little bit more expensive. There's a lot of late catchers, but I like those two for the price plus upside comparison there.
Darno, there's a lot of catchers that fit his profile where touted prospect finds a while to hit his best stride. Yep. And then you see he just had his best OPS plus again. I know it's a partial season, but I mean, he was really good. I was surprised Tampa Bay let him go because I thought he was a perfect Tampa Bay Ray, although once they priced themselves out of that team's structure, maybe that's why he went to Atlanta. But I see no reason why he couldn't be like a top 3 catcher at the end of the year, or even the best fantasy catcher. That guy can rake. That guy's good enough. If they did have a DH, I would think he would DH sometimes when he wasn't catching because he's that good of a hitter. We drafted him today. I found the catcher pool as a whole surprisingly. I don't really like maybe the 4 to 9 guys all that much as a group, but I haven't found myself stressed at catcher. I think it's actually a little bit deeper than maybe people think. I just know I'm not taking Real Muto, but I can definitely sign off on Darno and his career path. Don't be fooled when somebody else has a career path that looks like Darno's. You might be skeptical of it. When it comes to a catcher, I just think it's a position that, you come up to play and they ask you to play defense first. They need you to worry about that. It's like hockey defensemen sometimes don't score right away and then they become scorers later in their career. I think he's in the pocket where he's very bankable right now. I can't say enough how much I endorse that pick.
If you look at StatCast hard hit rate, the top 6 are Tatis, Sano, Christian Yelich, Mike Trout, Matt Chapman, Travis d'Arnaud is number 6. That's not catchers. That's in the whole major leagues. That was last. Oh no, it's even higher. It's he's actually second. I take it back. I had it sorted wrong. He's actually behind Tatis. He's right above Sano, 57.8%.
I know Smith's way up there too with all the StatCast metrics also.
Yeah, no, Smith. I mean, I think Smith's a stud. It's just they came out this week and said he's going to play 9. They think he's going to play 90 games. It's just
I'm worried 105 games is like the upside for him.
Yeah, like it's hard to think about him at the price unless it really drops if he's only playing 90 games. And granted, he could play some games at first base maybe here and there, but they have so many guys. It's just it's
the Dodgers. The Dodgers are the biggest pain in the neck team for all the talent they have. It's like, oh, all the great pitching. Well, he's got the sniffles. We're going to sit him. Gavin Lux, could be a rookie of the year candidate somewhere else. He may not even start for this team. They have a catcher who could smash over every other catcher. We're talking about him playing 100 games or something like that. I mean, they have so much talent, and they know they're already in the playoffs, and it makes them such a difficult team to reconcile.
Yeah, so it's second highest hard hit rate for d'Arnaud. That number really jumped out to me when I looked. But I'm going to go in the same range as Jeff's McCann pick. I'm going to go. Usually I go A's on my fade list, but I'm actually taking A's on my target list here. I'm going to go Sean Murphy. He's back in the spring training lineup after that the collapsed lung that he got when he was sleeping. Apparently he coughed the wrong way, a very strange injury. But the Ks are a little bit high. He's got a good eye though. His walk rate last year was 15%. Hits the ball so hard though. 48% hard hit rate, 4th highest among catchers. Barrel rate was 12.7%, which is 5th highest among catchers last year. And he's hit for average in the past. He hit 288 in AA in 2018, hit 308 in only 31 games in AAA in 2019. A little bit of an injury history, but I just think he hits the ball hard. Increases fly balls last year. Should hit 5th or 6th in the A's lineup. It probably depends on, against a lefty, probably 5th, and against a righty, they'll put Mitch Moreland in there, probably hit 6th. But definite target for me. ADP's about 185. Was about that in the main event this weekend too. So kind of around 13, 14 guys. Someone that I'm definitely taking there.
Yeah, I think he was going a lot higher before all this, but everything seems to be progressing in the right direction, and that's always something that it's always nice there to jump in on that there and be able to get and definitely be able to get that discount. Although I wonder if that's going to continue next weekend as he starts to play a little bit more and more.
Yeah. I imagine he'll move up a little bit. Didn't move up much this weekend, but I imagine he will too. If you're looking for a super late guy, it's probably a fab consideration. But if Tom Murphy struggles or gets hurt in Seattle, Luis Torrens can just hit. He hit 300 in AA with the Padres in 2019, hit 280 in 2018 in Single A, had 15 home runs in AA. Last year it came up for 25 games, 57% hard hit rate. This dude can hit. I think that if Murphy struggles at all, we might see Luis Torrens be a pretty popular pick.
Also, it sounds like maybe Alejandro Kirk might be the catcher in Toronto. I have that right?
I think Jansen probably still has the job to start, but I think everything I've read makes it seem like it's going to be hard. The Kirk's definitely going to be on the roster.
Yeah, and when that happens, then all it takes is if continues to be the better hitter 3 weeks in the regular season, it's going to be like,
yeah.
And unless Jansen's defense is totally elite, which I don't think it is, I don't see that changing. Like,
I thought Jansen was a plus defender, but not like an elite defender. Right. I think I have that right, but I'm not positive.
Compare that versus the Red situation where Tyler Stevenson's probably already a better hitter than Tucker Barnhart, but Barnhart is so good defensively, and Stevenson was considered a work in progress, that it's going to be unlikely that he's going to frustrate people because he's going to be like, "Well, play Tyler Stevenson more, you guys," and you'll be like, well, he doesn't frame as well. He doesn't call the game as well. And the Reds are going to be like, And all the pitchers want Barnhart to throw to Barnhart. I know that's how it's going to be.
And at some point, Jansen's a career 208 hitter, was worse than that last year. Career OBP at 297. At some point, that has to come into play.
Yeah, for sure.
Jeff, why don't you go to first base? Who's someone that you're targeting at first base?
So it's kind of funny, like, and the top 150. I mean, I've got an Abreu share here and there. I think I've got Freddie Freeman. I'm not really targeting early first baseman all that often. Mike Moustakas would be the one guy, and at risk of being a homer, but I everything is kind of pointing towards a better season for him, and he's going to qualify at 30. Already is first and second. He was much better in September. He dealt with an injury. He dealt with a false positive on a COVID scare. There wasn't much continuity to his season. I think you're going to see a full season in that ballpark. It's going to be the season everybody expected last year, and you're not paying that price anymore. So
love it.
That's a guy I kind of been targeting early. Late, I've been a CJ Cron guy. He's officially on the roster now, so that price is just going to get higher and higher. I end up with a lot of Christian Walker. There's a lot of late first baseman I get. It seems like that's a position I've been waiting on frequently. I don't have any Bellinger. I don't have any Vlad. I don't have any Alonso. I have some Luke Voit. I know. I'm preempting a little bit. I have no Goldie. I have no Rizzo. I think I have one Matt Olson. I just don't have too many early first basemen.
CJ Cron's officially a top 10 pick, by the way. Top 10 rounds.
Yeah, I see that now on the main event. Yep, it's
crazy,
rising.
Right? He made the team and signed in the right spot, and everybody kind of liked him anyway. And I think someone's gonna. I like Cron, but I think someone's gonna jump me on him almost in every draft.
Where was he going this weekend?
He went in the 10th round. Average.
Oh
pick
God, really? I thought you were joking. I wasn't sure you had to take that seriously or not.
No, yeah.
I'm old enough to remember when I set the 12 team min pick on CJ Cron. It was like 175 or something. But it's just
those were the days. There's the joy of picking early.
Yep.
I had Moustakas on my sheet. I just wasn't sure where to slot him. His last week NFBC ADP is 117, which I still think we're going to look back and say when he goes in like the 4th or 5th round next year, like how did he get outside the top 100? This was so obvious. Such a good player. So I drafted him today. So, you always got to overrate your own players.
We're sharing a brain a lot.
I'm a Luke Voit guy. I agree with Jeff. I think there's a lot more. This is a weird shape of the first baseman. I think the first baseman in general you might be considering in rounds 3 to 7 aren't as good as they usually are. And I feel like what you get if you wait this position is better than it should be. A Christian Walker I'm in on. I do like Voit, though. He's kind of one of those Whit Merrifield all-stars for me. He's done it long enough. The Yankee lineup, that park, it provides a buoyancy that I feel really good about. I don't know if the Angels are going to screw this up, but Jared Walsh was great last year for them.
Yep.
And the year before, I know it's the PCL. I know he was old for the league, but he hit something like 36 home runs in 95 games or something silly like that. This guy can friggin' rake. He just reminds me of another version of Voit. Didn't have a pedigree. Nobody expected much. All he did on his resume was hit. I hope Pujols doesn't get in his way, and Ohtani, where they have to. Obviously, Ohtani's a great offensive player. Pujols is having his victory lap season. I hope that doesn't. I can't blame them if Ohtani's the person squeezing Walsh out. I just hope Pujols isn't the guy who does that. But I still like getting Jared Walsh where I can. And the last I checked, his ADP was well outside the top 200.
Yeah, I hope they don't mess that up too, because Walsh was a fun guy to watch last year. I had Christian Walker on my list. You guys both mentioned him, so I won't go back there. I like his hard hit profile. I just think that he's a guy that you can get if you wait a little bit at first base. His ADP over the weekend in the main events was 225, so 15th, 16th round. I'm really good on Walker there. You guys mentioned, I think you guys mentioned you don't really like him. I really like Paul Goldschmidt this year, ADP in the 90s. Last year, only 6 home runs, but he hit 304. That down batting average in 2019 now kind of looks like an outlier at 260. He had 30-plus home runs in 2017, 2018, 2019. Consistent hard hit rate over 40% the last 6 years. A barrel rate over 10% the last 4 years. I just think the guy can still hit. The stolen bases are fully gone. You can't count any of those anymore. But you put Arenado in it with him in the lineup here. The K rate dropped. The swing strike rate dropped. I think he had some elbow issues, maybe affected the power last year. I think it picked 90 to 100 in there. I think that you're going to gain a little bit of a profit on Goldschmidt. It's not going to be a first-round value or anything like that, but I think he's someone that won't hurt you and is going to help you and just be really solid, and a little bit boring, but pretty solid.
We did draft him today, kind of a crying pick, one of those slots where we just didn't have a guy we liked, and so we ended up taking Goldschmidt. This was in a keeper league where a lot of the cheaper first basemen were already gone. Guys like C.J. Cron were already rostered. But, Goldschmidt, his last 3 years, his 3-year average slash, and I know it's all messed up from last year, but still, 279, 375, 499. That on-base skill is going to live. It's going to live through his 30s. He's always going to be a plus batting average guy. Remember, anybody who hits like around 255 is probably your median in a mixed league. So he's going to help you in batting average. I think the Cardinals have a deep lineup. I think the guys in front of Goldschmidt are going to be on base. And the Cardinals just seem to be right about a lot of things. Paul Goldschmidt, I think some people have just decided they're out on Paul Goldschmidt now because the situation, he's going in the wrong direction now. I think he's going to hold more of his value and age better than maybe the market. It's not that I'm pounding the table for him. Again, it was a crying call for us to take Goldschmidt today, but I guess I've warmed up to him in the last 6 hours.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily anti-Goldschmidt. I'm just not worked up to take him usually, and maybe I'm looking for something different when he comes around.
That's fair. That's kind of it's like a prime closer range in there too. There's a lot of stuff you want in that range, so it does get tough.
Point. That's an excellent point. And also, you have to also keep in mind. I mean, I try not to get boxed in by this, but if you feel really good about the cheaper first baseman, like if you like shortstop is so deep that you don't necessarily have to say I like Dansby Swanson here, but there's like 5 or 6 shortstops I can imagine myself taking in 6 rounds. Sometimes that means you wait because there's other positions that are drying up, and you have to get involved before the tier changes.
Yeah, I'm glad you're gonna. Swanson's gonna come up later, so that's all I'll say.
Okay. Spoiler alert. Just real quick on late first baseman. It depends on your format. If you play in a league that's daily moves or like NFBC where you can play half weeks, I think Mitch Moreland's actually really sneaky. You're talking about a guy that's going to only play against righties, but you look at his splits, and like his WRC plus last year against righties was 146. It was 125 in 2019. The guy can just still really hit right-handed pitching. He had 270 against righties last year. He had 9 home runs and 111 at bats. You got to be able to play. You got to be able to make moves and move him around. You don't want to slot him in for a whole week. If they get 3 lefties, you could be in trouble there. But in a daily moves league, or even a half weekly, I think Moreland's going to end up paying a benefit. He's almost free. Like you can just pretty much take him the 28th round without a problem.
I love that. You're so right. You have to work the schedule. I wish for weekly fantasy we would accept the NFBC idea of the 2 periods for hitters.
I love it.
Yep. So you don't have to look 6 or 7 days ahead. And what's worse than you put a guy in your lineup and he gets hurt on Monday, or you don't have injury clarity on a situation. The way they run that format is so smart, and I wish that would become the standard for weekly leagues, because I get not everybody wants to play daily. I love the Friends and Family League, but I don't want every one of my leagues to be a daily chore or a daily maintenance lap. But weekly to me feels like I'm not getting enough hands on. I want to get more managing involved. I think the bi-weekly transactions, you only do it once for pitchers but twice for hitters. I think that's the perfect marriage of how to make a league playable. And you outline a perfect guy to take advantage of. The only thing I don't like about Moreland for that purpose is I wish he played in a different time zone, because sometimes with these West Coast teams, you're just not going to have the lineup. And I hope Oakland, it's funny how some teams give their lineups out earlier than others. I hope they're one of the teams that gives you the information quickly. And as all the sports leagues start getting partnerships with all these books and everything, we need information. We need to know who's in the lineup. None of this I'll get to it when I get to it. Let's get these lineups out so we can start making the most informed decision we can.
Send the lineup in already, Walt Weiss. Come on.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll make some calls. Make sure we get early A's lineups this year.
I know you can do that. You know people who know people. Just don't wear the mascot uniform, because then somebody probably take a swing at you. But
it wouldn't be the first time. Let's go over to second base. Jeff, I'll start with you. I forget kind of what order I went in, but Jeff, who's your second baseman that you're looking at trying to grab in drafts?
So the funny thing is, again, I don't target too many early ones. I've ended up with some Biggio. I've been kind of since seeing him bat so low in the order this spring has kind of cooled my interest a little bit. I don't have any Albies. I don't have any Keston Hira. I like Whit Merrifield, not to the extent that Scott does, but I like him. It's Moustakas again. I mean, I'm back on Moustakas, but
it works.
It's a cop out, but I mean, and there's some that I have nothing against. I'm not paying the Jose Altuve price. I am definitely low man on the Altuve.
No, it's not on my board.
Yeah. So I'm often waiting. I get Gavin Lux. I get a lot of others. I find myself with Gene Segura a lot. He's on that Merrifield team, by the way. And, he's a classic. Oh, he's fine, whatever. Yeah, but second and third runs a little. Sure, sign me up. I'll take him. Give me some Colton Wong late. Jake Cronenworth, I got at 302 in TGFBI. Now I think that's aberrant in how low he's going, because I think the undercurrent is that he's going to get more playing time. Hassan Kim has struggled a little bit this spring. I like a lot of late second basemen, enough that I don't feel bad when the early ones go.
That's an important thing to know too. Like, knowing where you like guys late is really important to draft. You don't stress about second base early because you like them late. I mean, that knowledge right there is always helpful.
Absolutely.
I thought early in the draft season that the second base pool was going to be awful, and then I feel differently about it. I still don't think it's got a lot of talent at the top. I'm a Kevin Biggio guy, and a lot of people aren't. I paid top of the market price for him in labor, and probably to my detriment. But the last week of NFBC, I see his ADP settling around 68, which I think is fine. He's never been caught stealing, which to me means he has stolen base upside. And when you have the OBP skills that he has, I think that does a lot of good things. I think that means his average could be higher. And it also means that even if he starts the year hitting seventh, I don't feel confident he'll end the year hitting seventh. If he's getting on base so much, at some point that could probably solve it. He's a power speed guy. So I know the StatCast page will turn some people off, but I'm still pro Biggio. We talked a lot about Moustakas, who I'm obviously in favor of. And there's so many cheap guys I like here. David Fletcher qualifies all over the field.
Yep.
He seems like the type of player that Joe Madden will fall in love with. Ty Francis looked really interesting. I find myself talking myself to all these Mariners. I guess I'm going to bet that over 71.5 after we finish this podcast. And a couple of Hernandez's. Kiki Hernandez, don't laugh. He might be the leadoff man for the Red Sox, and he's outside the top 400. Cesar Hernandez didn't really do what he normally does. Talk about boring old guy, but probably going to hit leadoff. Not a zero in the power category, and I think he still has maybe 7 or 10 stolen bases plausible for him. He's essentially free outside the top 400. So there's a lot of people here I like. I'm surprised Jeff mentioned Lux, only because I think Dave Roberts tends to fall in love with players who remind him of Dave Roberts, the Chris Taylor types. He was a Kiki Hernandez guy. And every time I see Lux in a spring training lineup, make sure you're following Mike Curlin, by the way. He's doing unbelievable work with all this lineup resource stuff. He has every team spring lineup and what it means. It's unbelievable resource.
It is.
But every time I see Lux, he's hitting 8th or 7th. And I know the Dodgers have a deep lineup, but they're going to have a pitcher hitting this year. I don't want my guy hitting 8th or 9th or 7th, and I don't want him sitting for Chris Taylor. It sure seems to me like Gavin Lux is going to get jerked around again.
So that's fun, because I've actually talked myself into attacking Gavin Lux pretty heavily. I just think the guy can flat out hit. April, he might be hitting low. I just think the guy can flat out hit. You look at 2019 in the minors, 347 with 26 home runs, 10 stolen bases. 2018 in the minors, hit 324, 15 home runs, 13 home as a 20-year-old. I just think the hit tool's off the page here. Swinging strike rate in the minors was good. I think the K rate will end up fine. I just think that he's the guy that is going to emerge at some point. I don't know if it's going to be right in April, but I think by the end of the year, he fully emerges. ADP is 231, so it's at a price where I think I can pay it. If it doesn't work out, I'm not too upset, but I think the upside is just super intriguing at the ADP.
Yeah, I kind of feel like, we might be frustrated in the first half of the season, and then by the, and then second half of the season, he'll be like feeling it and moving up in the order, and we'll be like, why does he ever slip near pick 200 at all? And he'll be one of those guys that's 6th round next year and 3rd round 2 years from now.
I think you're wrong. I think we're going to be Charlie Brown football, Lucy. It's
sure.
Going to be like, Dave Roberts did to me again. Gavin Lux is hitting 292 and he's playing 4 times a week.
Well, and
that's good, because we've agreed on a lot of guys, so it's fun when we don't. I think that makes for good stuff. I like that. Scott mentioned Kiki Hernandez maybe leading off. He's played 13 spring training games, led off in all 13. That's a pretty big, pretty good indication that maybe they are actually going to play him up top there.
I would say so. I got him in the RotoWire Staff Keeper League for $1 in the end game, 18-team mixed league. And I was like, wow. I'm just looking for.
I was thrilled. I was thrilled to get him in the tout, the draft portion of the 15-team mixer. I think he might have 500 bats coming. He might hit in a full season. He could hit 18 home runs.
Yeah, I think so too. I actually kind of like Ryan McMahon a little bit here. Not someone I'm usually on because he strikes out a ton, but you look at the last year and a half, it's about 160 games. He has 32, I think, home runs. So I think he's someone that in cores, I think maybe the average boosts up a little bit when he plays a full season of cores. I think if the right team build, if you're late, he qualifies at 3 positions. If your batting average is good and you need some pop, I think he's someone that can fill in pretty nicely in a lot of different spots.
And batting second,
I'm just so sick. I like
too.
him. I'm just so sick of the Rockies jerking people around. I wish they would commit to McMahon or Hampson or one of those guys with 500 bats would be a monster.
I think Brendan Rodgers getting hurt probably helps both of those guys, at least to start. Maybe they solidify themselves in there. But yes, the Rockies are just maddening.
Yeah, here's the way the Rockies work. You're a young prospect, you get buried, you get jerked around, you play, until you become the guy that blocks the next prospect. McMahon is now the blocker, so his playing time is pretty set.
I never met a team that treated 2 for 11 like a slump the way the Rockies do.
Yeah.
Give him a mental day off. He only has 2 hits in the last 3 games. He's really up against it.
Scott, where are you going at third base? Let's jump over to the hot corner. Who do you find yourself drafting in a lot of leagues?
Yeah, I'm not sure if I have anybody in the top 150 who I was targeting. I like Gio Urshela, 161 over the last week. How is a player underrated on the Yankees? But it feels like he is. And I don't know when I turned into the Mariner Moose, but I picked 273. Kyle Seager's going to give you like 21 home runs and 80 RBIs. Yeah, he'll hit 239, but that isn't the kill shot it used to be. And nobody's going to fight you over him. I also want to see, this guy's totally free right now. I want to see if Maikel Franco quickly assumes a job in Baltimore. I know he's a late signing for the Orioles, like maybe a week ago or something like that. I don't think they view Rio Ruiz as a long-term solution. Franco looked like a pretty good player to me. He's always been somebody with good bat skills and pitch recognition skills. If he's in the opening day line, if he's unowned in your league and you see them commit to him, like if they say, "Oh, this is our opening day lineup," and Franco is in it, I think he'd be a great guy that you might be adding before the season starts.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, great place to hit. I like that call too. Jeff, how about you?
So I love a lot of the early ones. I don't really target any of them, but I'm happy to take them when they fall to ADP or fall, they fall slightly below. I'll be happy to take them. I even took Bregman, who I don't love, in TGFBI because I got him way late in that one. I got him at 59, which I think was his max at the time. I think that might have been slipping, but and the funny thing is, I don't love too many late guys. I mean, I share your like of Urshela. I have a decent amount of him. I'll throw in one name or 2 names super late. Joey Wendell, who's second, third, and short. Runs a little bit. Speed score is really high. I mean, you have to deal with the raise. You get raised a little bit here, but it's a plus 300 pick, so whatever. I mean, that's fine. You deal with that. That's a guy that's your Swiss Army knife that you put in to try to fit all the spots, and you get some stolen bases. I want to know what you guys think of Jonathan India, who's now being likely to be the Reds' starting second baseman. That they're moving everybody around to get India into the lineup. He's impressed enough at the alternate training site and enough in spring training this year that they want to make this move, so they think that will improve the lineup. And that's why they're moving Suarez out of position to make this work. I think he's a first-round pick, 8th overall pick. The stats aren't there from the minor leagues, but again, he missed a full year. He could have been tearing up Double-A last year with all the power we thought. The batting eye is already there. Am I wearing Reds-colored glasses, or is there upside here?
Before we get into India, I want to mention 2 other proactive guys I definitely want to get out here really quick. Juan Moncada, total COVID pass.
Oh, it's coming. Don't worry.
84 ADP the last week. That's a giveaway. He is going to beat that.
Don't worry. It's coming in about 3 minutes. Tommy
Edmonds hitting the leadoff for the Cardinals, qualifies at 4 positions, and he's going to be like a 15-15 guy. When you draft Edmund, the great thing is then you have also, to a fault, because we have more position flexibility everywhere than we've ever had before, so it probably doesn't mean as much. But I had Edmund on my last 2 teams that I assembled, and I had the freedom just to go best player available or move around my roster however I wanted because I knew he could play anywhere. And again, the Cardinals have been very clear about what their lineup's going to be. Edmund is going to hit first.
So Jeff, on your India question, I think it's interesting. I mean, he's a guy that I think you get some kind of a speed power combo super late. I don't know. He probably He'll start to get drafted, move up a little bit as this position stuff comes out. I think that the batting average is going to be a concern. I think he's going to have a strikeout issue in the majors first time through. You can kind of tell when he was in A-ball, the strikeouts were big. Then he moved up a little bit, strikeouts there. And he kind of got better at it, but I just worry about a year off essentially to come into major league people. I think the strikeouts are going to be a problem, but I think there's a chance that you get like 12 and 15 out of him. And if you do that late in the draft, it's going to be worth it no matter what the batting average is.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think at that point you're just trolling for upside. And
yeah, I think so too. You're going to get second, and I guess we get second and third eligibility then?
Yeah, he's already third. He'll add second. That's
nice because you can play middle and corner, which is super valuable late in the draft.
Yeah. Baseball America was raving about him. They did like a survey of scouts and said that's the guy that's
I saw that article,
done the most to turn heads and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I think I'm on board. The funny thing is I'm on board, but I don't have him yet. I want to be on board.
He's certainly on my bolded starred list late in drafts. You get deep, and I'm looking for kind of upside, someone with some steals upside, that sort of thing. He's definitely become on that list now.
Yep.
So Scott mentioned Yohan Moncada. He's mine probably to nobody's surprise. I just think that I'm fully a toss on 2020. I'm throwing that year out. He's one of those guys that had COVID, played almost every day, but pretty much said that he never felt right. He felt slow. He felt tired all the time. I'm tossing that year out. Then you look at 2017, 2018, 2019. Hard hit rate went from 35% to 44% to 48%. He was barreling up more balls. He's a guy that walks a little bit too. He's got a 10% career walk rate. The strikeouts are too high. But I like the fact that in 2018 to 2019, he actually dropped his strikeout rate like 6%. He was making steps and making strides, and I just think COVID threw that all out of whack. So at pick 84, he's a guy at 25 home runs, 10 stolen bases in 2019. I just think he's someone that I think the batting average might be a little concerned because obviously the 406 BABIP from 2019 is never coming back. But a speed power combo guy with a ton of upside is something that I like to do in the 6th round.
God, I love it. I wish I could be getting this ADP that's out there that hasn't been available in my leagues, but I would be flabbergasted if we don't look back and say, man, what an opportunity that was. And plus, the Chicago lineup, A to Z.
Oh, yeah. Jeez.
I don't know if Tony La Russa can screw it up. I hope he doesn't turn Adam Eaton into like a bunt machine in the 2 slot. We don't even know who's hitting second there, but you want some people on the White Sox. Let's just make it as simple as that.
It's a really good point. You look at Mike Curlin's spring training data. Yohan Moncada's been hitting 4th all week, which is that would be a freak.
Yes,
please. Beautiful.
Yeah.
And his ADP in 4 main event weeks this week was 78. So he's moved up a little bit, but still kind of in that 5-6 turn where I'm still pretty interested.
Yeah. Mike does awesome work. I also want to point out RotoWire has a batting orders page, and they have the past 7 games, and they also have like the defaults and versus interleague, all that in one place too. So you can check that out. And confirms what Mike does. Mike is awesome, by the way. But
Mike Curlin is awesome, but I also want to give pub to RotoWire. I know a lot of sites do this. I have never found a better resource for the starting pitching, and as Scott talked about with Moreland, the need to know the handedness and what's coming ahead the next 3 days, the next 7 days. Yeah. You can go for it. It's totally customizable. It's intuitive. You need to know who's pitching. You need to know what the schedule looks like. That's what all the good players do. And going 2 weeks ahead, if you have to be proactive on streamers, if you have to be a week ahead of that stuff. I spend so much time on that page. And if somebody had done it better than I knew about, I'd use it. But that is far and away the best projected pitcher resource I've ever found. Everybody should be using it. If you subscribe to nothing else for RotoWire except for that one thing, I think you'd say, yeah, it's worth it.
It's funny because Jeff and I have talked about that in the past, and I used other sites maybe 6-7 years ago, and we kind of talked about what was different, and we had a pretty open and honest conversation about that. And I'll be honest, I wouldn't say it if it weren't true. Last 4 or 5 years, it's the first place I go. It's the only place I go for projected pitching. It's just the ability that the staff changes that midday rather than once or twice a day. It's constantly getting updates, constantly getting changes. If you're playing in any kind of league where you're looking to make moves right up to the deadline, it's pretty much a must. And I know.
I'm not going to here to bash anybody, but once you look at another site and you realize it's not current, then you never trust it.
Right.
And look, you guys have people on that. It's so proactively changed. I'm not going to say it's never a little bit behind because the way things change in baseball, it's impossible to have that completely of the moment. But it's far and away the best resource I found. Again, if you're not familiar with it, bookmark it. You will spend a lot of time there. And it will not only spend a lot of time there, but it will save you a lot of time.
Yeah, and I want to just do a quick shout out to Jason and Darren Brown, who originated the starting pitchers grid for us. Longtime RotoWire writers for us. They're one of those guys that have been, were there almost from the beginning, back when we were Roto News. They were back with us when we were Roto News.
Yep.
Even before that, we were Roto News Direct even. And they don't do as much on the grid as they used to, but it was all their brainchild, and they did so. It's just an everlasting contribution to the site. Great guys, and want to make sure they get their just due.
Yep. Belated happy birthday to the Browns.
So we got 2 positions left, shortstop and outfield, but finally a note from our other sponsor, Underdog Fantasy. Fantasy baseball is here, and you've got to check out the new Best Ball leagues on Underdog. Best Ball is the ultimate test of your live draft skills. There's no in-season management. That's right. Draft your team, and Underdog automatically credits you with your best performing players every week. You don't need to play the waiver wire or worry about trades, just the draft. Who doesn't love drafting? In Underdog Best Ball, you can draft as many teams as you want because you don't have to do any roster management, saving you loads of time. Underdog's Best Ball leagues are drafting right now, starting at just $3. Once the season starts, Underdog also has daily fantasy and all-new Pick'em game. Go download the Underdog app now to get into Best Ball before the season starts. And promo code RotoWire with your first deposit. Underdog will honor a money-back guarantee during your first month. Love Underdog. Get your money back with promo code RotoWire. Search Underdog in your app store and enter promo code RotoWire. So, Scott, let's go back to you first on this one. Shortstop, where there's a ton of them. I think it's probably the highest I've ever seen this many shortstops being ranked, being drafted. It's a bounty of great shortstops out there. Where are you finding yourself going?
Yeah, you're gonna have a lot of choices. I don't want to bog us down with a lot of modesty talk because I've already done that on Jeff's radio show the last 2 weeks. But I'm fine with him in the second round. I think the idea that he's a 1 or 2 category player is overdone because he's been a 4.5 category player for 2 years, and they like him. Plus, he's a great defender. I'm not saying you have to take him in the second or third round, but you certainly could. Again, I like Tommy Edman here, 129 last week, 4 positions in a leadoff spot in St. Louis. If I'm going super cheap, J.P. Crawford almost picked 500. If he gets that leadoff spot in Seattle, which he may or may not get, he's a post-type guy. He had a pedigree. Part of it was the defense, I believe, but I think he could easily be a double-digit home run and steals guy. Miguel Rojas strikes me as somebody who maybe could hit 11 home runs and steal 13 or 14 bases, and you're getting him almost for nothing. But there are so many shortstops I like. I love Tim Anderson. I'm a big Swanson guy. Willie Castro's become kind of trendy. He's got a lot to offer. I even think Willie Adames is going. I know Wander Castro is the be-all, end-all, but Willie Adames is a good offensive player. Until he doesn't have that job, I'm going to be interested in Adames.
Who gets the call first, Bobby Witt Jr. or Wander Franco?
That's a good question. I'm going to go Wander Franco, barely.
Okay.
I lean Franco too, but it's hard to say because their objectives are totally different, right?
Yeah.
I could just see the Rays if any one player at any number of positions, because Wendell floats all around. So many different guys could get hurt, and they could be like, well, we want to be good right now, so let's just get Franco here.
Yeah. By the way, Franco typically goes after Witt, but it's close. At least it's been close lately. But 2 weeks ago, it wasn't close.
I think that changes the other way now. I think that now I think everybody was bidding on the quotes that maybe Witt was going to make the opening day roster. I think we probably jumps down now.
He's become the catnip guy now. We have video on him. We have catnip on Bobby Witt Jr. that we didn't have a few weeks ago.
Exactly right.
Jeff, how about you at shortstop?
All right, so who do you not like? I mean, that's the crazy thing. There are so many good shortstops. I'm all on board with taking 2 of them, 2 of those top in the top 10. I have no problem with that. If I find myself getting locked out on him, I've been prioritizing getting Swanson. A little bit of speed, comes at a little bit more of affordable price, pick 100. He's kind of like if I get locked out a shortstop early, I like him over Correa. I like him over Jimenez, who's been the trendy guy lately. Edmonds got it. I see the point for Edmond, 4 positions. My goodness, that's lovely. But I get a lot of Dansby Swanson. I guess the question is, who am I not ending up with? I'm not ending up with Lindor at all for the price. The ballpark scares me a little bit, and I don't know if there's maybe that slippage in running. I just feel like I'm not going to pay that high price when there's so many others after him that I like. So I really haven't been getting Lindor at all. Late, I like Willie Castro. He's batting 3rd. I understand, okay, yeah, last year was a fluke. It's sample size fluke and et cetera. He's crushing it again this spring. At what point? How much is enough of a sample to believe in Willie Castro? I'm there.
I want to mention this. I'm in on Castro too. I want to mention really quickly about Swanson. He had a monster first half in 2019, and then his bad second half was all explained by injury.
Yep.
And then last year, now it's misleading because he hit in a good slot all year. He led the National League in bats. But if you prorate, another proration game can get you down some bad places. He prorates like 125 runs, like 85 RBIs, 25 home runs, double-digit steals. Now, he may hit 6th or 7th or 5th or whatever. It sounds like Albies is going to hit 2nd. But Dansby Swanson was one of the top 5 prospects in baseball, in part, I think, because of his defense. But I kind of recoil when I see him on breakout lists. I feel like the breakout's already happened. It was ruined by an injury in the second half of 19. And then last year, he would have ended up with unbelievable stats, really glittering stats. You know, when somebody scores over 100 runs, it jumps out at you. When somebody scores 49 runs in 60 games, it doesn't have the same cachet, even though it's really just as impressive. I love Dansby Swanson, and he's already broken out to me. I just wish he had the number 2 slot. I don't think he's going to have it, but I am always trying to get Dansby Swanson. I haven't got enough of him as I'd like, but I am so much in his corner.
So I'm with you guys. I mean, all the shortstops up top are great. So I kind of skipped all those. The guy that I found myself with, Jeff mentioned him a little bit earlier when we were talking about second base. Every time I look at Jake Cronenworth's Fangraphs page or StatCast page, I'm surprised how much it jumps off the page. I mean, there's a guy that 42% hard hit rate, 10.5% barrel, and he's fast and 92nd percentile sprint speed guy. So I think the stolen bases are going to be there. He stole 12 bases in AAA in 2019. I mean, you're not going to get 30 out of him, but I think you get 12 to 15. The playing time's obviously a concern. They're really deep, but Jeff mentioned that, Kim has been struggling. ADP's about 210 to 220, so you're looking the 14th round or so. I just think he's someone that if you get stuck and you don't have a position, he's first, second, and short eligible. He could be your middle, he could be your second, he could be your short, he could be a corner. I just think he's really valuable there. He's a 5.8% swing strike rate, so that K rate's not going anywhere. It's 15.6%. I just think he kind of does a little bit of everything, and it's gotten lost with the fact of how deep they are. But I think they're going to find a way to play him. He played 54 of the 60 games last year. They obviously like him. I'd love he slipped around or two, based on the fact that people worry about playing time. But he's someone that I think is he kind of saves you in the middle of the draft if you need a certain position or a certain stat, and he's kind of a catch-all kind of guy.
Yeah.
I wish I wasn't so afraid of the depth of the Padres, but the depth of the Padres scares me. Now, a lot of the times that stuff just works itself out. Somebody busts a thumb. Somebody, maybe Kim gets off to a poor start or doesn't really have a role right away. You never know how somebody who isn't acclimated fully to the American culture, I mean, Ichiro Suzuki came over here and won the MVP. I mean, it didn't bother him at all. But some guys have different approaches to that, to how comfortable they can get into a different, view of the world and everything. But I feel like I'm letting Cronenworth go, and I could easily regret it because, as you said, the player page, the skills are certainly really good, and we love that flexibility and what should be a really lucrative lineup as well.
So, Jeff, you mentioned Andres Jimenez. He's a guy that's flying up. His ADP this weekend in 4 main event drafts was 110, a range of 100 to 125. Are either of you guys in on that price? Because I am definitely not in at that price, and I feel like I'm the only one in the whole community that doesn't love Andres Jimenez.
I loved him I loved him before he was popular, sort of thing. I was like, oh yeah, if I get locked out on Dansby, well, I've got Jimenez at 150. Oh no, I don't. No,
no, not anymore.
Second, third, short eligible. He runs, and let's face. I think that's the really big thing. How many we did last week was our speed episode, and how many times did we go through those late speed guys? Like, he's batting 8th. He's batting 7th. He can't hit. He doesn't walk. So if he can't walk, he's not going to run. It's just so many times we're doing that. We don't get that. I don't get that vibe with Jimenez. Now, I don't think he hits for much power at all. He might grow into it. I think a lot of people are projecting that power to him. But yeah, not at his 110 price. I don't like him. I liked him a lot better.
God, he's so overpriced now. Every time I see their lineup, their main guys, Hernandez is hitting first, Rosario's hitting second, Jose Ramirez hitting third. He's not breaking into that group. And I think sometimes teams think they're doing a favor to a young player by hitting him 7th, 8th, or 9th, not putting any pressure on him. It's not a kill shot in the American League to bat low like it is in the National League, but it's still negative. You lose about 20 plate appearances per slot. So the fact that he's going to hit 7th, 8th, or 9th. He's going to have to be a god or somebody's going to have to get hurt to fix that. And now he's going at an expectant ADP. He's like, I respect the pedigree. I respect what the scouts have said. I know he's exceptionally fast and could be a really good base stealer in time and maybe right away. But he's one of those guys that might as well not even be on my board right now because people are drafting him proactively, and I really think that's a mistake.
Does the fact that the Indians sent down Oscar Mercado today maybe change the batting order perception a little bit? Or is it just that Mercado was never going to bat high either?
I think he was hitting ninth anyway.
Yeah, okay.
Well, they're not going to hit Hernandez or Rosario 7th, 8th, or 9th, I don't think. Unless Jimenez just comes out of the box smoking, and they're like, okay, the guy's hitting 420, we're going to move him up. But I think he's going to hit 7th, 8th, or 9th just about all year.
And my concerns, like what you guys said about the batting order, and then I don't think he breaks at the top. And I'm okay with a batting order guy that's a little bit down there in the American League if he's a power guy, but a speed guy, I just worry about traffic on the bases. You don't get to lead off every game or hit second every game. You just get always that at bat where you can maybe get a stolen base opportunity. For a guy who you're relying on steals to be valuable enough to be worthy of the 110 ADP, he's not a hard hit guy. He's not going to hit a bunch of home runs yet. He may grow into that at some point, but for someone you're counting on for that much speed, the batting order does concern me.
Yeah, he's hit 8th, 7th, and 2nd in his last 4 starts. So
if I was going to talk myself into a low batting slot guy, I'd want him to be on such a loaded team that it didn't matter. Cleveland's got dead spots in this lineup. I'm not sure that there's going to be people. You may hit behind Roberto Perez, who could hit like 207. Mm-hmm. And because he has speed and not a lot of power, it's going to keep him from hitting in the middle of the lineup. So if he doesn't hit first or second, he almost has to hit 7th, 8th, or 9th. Yeah. He's such a fade for me. Because again, people are treating him like he's already proven that he can play at this level. We don't know that yet.
Yeah, that's kind of where I fall, and I just think the pushed-up price has definitely put me out on him. But let's jump into the outfield real quick. Our last position here, a lot of players in the outfield. Obviously, there's a ton of guys. I want you guys each to give me someone in the top 150 and then outside, and we'll obviously have some other honorable mention type guys. But Jeff, why don't you go first on this one? Who are you targeting at the top half of the outfield?
An outfielder that plays in Toronto. Any of them.
Any of them.
Yeah,
I want
that's
two
one
of
mine too.
I'd like them. I like them all. Give me some Gurriel, especially because he's the cheapest of the 3. But I like them. I like all 3 of them. And it's fun to say Teoscar also. So there is that.
Does that extend to Grichuk too? Does Grichuk enter that conversation?
Because he's dropping like he's the opposite of Helium. He's a lead guy. I can see it as this doesn't make sense that he's dropping this far. I get why he's the one that's dropping, but sure, I'll take him at his that goes to the cheap price. Sure, I could see that.
He was a reserve pick in Tout. I got him as a reserve guy.
Yeah.
I like Yaz at 137. He's a Whit Merrifield guy. He's good. Yeah. And the park is different now. They've moved the bullpens. Last year the Archways were closed. I'm not sure if they're going to do that again or not. But I'll take him at pick 137 all day. 3 cheap guys. I like McCutcheon's skills look very intact to me. And to the point that I think like 20 home runs and 12 or 13 stolen bases and like 95 runs scored are all in play for him. Mitch Kaniger was a great player when he was healthy a couple of years ago. It seems like he's healthy again. I talked myself into all of the Mariners. And I don't know why Jesse Winker's still outside the top 200. He was outside the top 200 in the last week in ADP.
Barely now. He's creeping up.
No DH hurts them because they have too many good players, and Winker's defense is an issue. But, man, that guy is just a 285, 30, 100 year waiting to happen.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one there for sure. I will buy the hype on Kelnick. I'm
draft him today.
I'm going to pay him. I bought him in Tout Wars. I think it was, I want to say 13. It was a pretty affordable price. This is AL only.
What's your he's coming up date?
Whatever 3 weeks into the season is.
Okay, so you're talking late April, early May. You're pretty. You feel pretty good he's gonna be up by.
I'll promise you he's on the team by June 1st, and I think you could come up a lot earlier than that.
Yeah, I think so. The cost on Nick Senzel has already gone up because Scott spoke and the ADP followed.
Not really, but that is for someone that was in the 220s, he's consistently going in the 10th, 11th round in 4 main events. Like, it's not like you get a widespread, like someone reached up for him. It's rare you get someone that someone reaches up for and it kind of reaches across a bunch of different drafts. So it's, I think the Nick Senzel value price is long gone.
I find myself rostering Clint Frazier a lot. Tell me why. Is it why I am so out of line with him? Is it because of the fear of batting order or fear of Brett Gardner? What is it?
I think it's a fear of Aaron Boone / Brett Gardner. It just seems like every time you look and the starters are playing, Brett Gardner's in the lineup in spring training. It worries me. But I love Frazier's hit tool. I like him too. But I'm a little bit concerned about what they're going to do with playing time. Although with Stanton and Judge, how long it's going to be before that playing time opens up, right?
Fear of a black hat? I don't know.
Are you guys out on Stanton, by the way? In on Stanton?
Yes,
how
way
you
out on
that?
Stanton, in on
Me
Judge.
Too. Stanton's not on my board. I know the price is appetizing, but I'm still not doing it.
Do you guys think he gets outfield eligibility at some point? I think they just leave him at DH.
I think they should leave him at DH.
He's IL eligible. That's what he is.
He's got to be the right team build. If I find myself in the 9th round, I'm like, boy, I got a lot of things here, but power is a little lacking. Then I may take the stab on him and risk it, but it has to be the exact right team build for me.
Yeah. And by the way, I know we're not covering DHs otherwise, but people are like automatically penciling in Nelson Cruz on me now. It's gotten
when did Nelson Cruz go from
you lost money on Nelson Cruz?
Exactly.
How did Nelson Cruz go from my guy to your guy?
He's going to be good until he retires. Great until he retires.
I have more platforms to talk about him, Scott. That's the only reason why. But I got him in friends and family because especially because it's a 2 UT league. It's like, yeah, of course I'm going to take him. And I think you were right behind me, Scott. And I was debating him and George Springer, and Springer, of course, is younger, and we talked Toronto, and I love him, and that was my debate. And of course, you snagged Springer right after. But in this league, I don't know if that's true. No, I went Judge right before that. That's not true. So I got Cruz a round or two later. But I mean, yeah, I've never lost. I take Cruz ahead of Alvarez. I take Cruz ahead of JD Martinez, and I've seen both where he's gone after both those guys in many cases. Maybe there's a tiny little crack in the foundation, but he's not going to go Encarnacion on us. I'm not worried about that.
He's too old to do it. Well, he keeps doing it. Oh, he's not going to do it in Seattle. That's the wrong place to go. Oh, he keeps doing it. Oh, right. Minnesota. I don't know. He's in his late 30s now. Keeps doing it. Leads the majors in home runs for the decade. Was great last year. He is David Ortiz. He will be great, and people keep waiting. Everybody going 0-0 against Cruz until they retire, and all those people will be broke. Because they bet on the roulette wheel to come up red, and it was black 13 times in a row.
So Jeff took mine with the Toronto outfield. That George Springer is a big target for me. I love everything he does. I love him leading off in Toronto. But since Jeff went Toronto, I'm gonna go over Cincinnati just to have Jeff appreciate my pick. I think Nick Castellanos is a target for me again.
Love him.
He's pick 80. He's about pick 80. So he's 6th round. I like him as a bounce back target. Last year was obviously rough, hit 225, but he was awesome the first month. And then I don't know what happened, but he still hit 14 home runs. His K rate spiked up a little bit. BABIP was 257, hurt the batting average. Career BABIP's 329, so I'm pretty certain that's going to bounce back. But still a guy who mashes the ball. He has 16% barrel rate. He was among the elite at that. 46% hard hit rate. Swings and misses too much, but playing in that ballpark, hitting second, hitting fourth, wherever he may end up hitting, he's someone that I think you're going to profit on in the 6th round.
Get in my kitchen. That's fine. I don't mind in this one here.
I got another. We all liked Moustakas, I think. Cincinnati Reds over 81.5. That sounds pretty good to me.
And the thing is, the Reds are weird because they had a really crappy offseason, right? They didn't do anything to improve. They actually actively got worse. They traded away one closer and let another one walk for free in Archie Bradley. But they also kind of underachieved last year. If India is worth it, that solves the way below average shortstop problem a little bit. You're thinking, and by the way, Suarez is also a target of mine, and they added shortstop eligibility. That's groovy. I'll take it.
Yeah, that'll work.
I hope the defense dodoesn't weigh down the offense, but I'm kind of optimistic on him. They still are below average at first base. Sad. My favorite player of all time, and maybe not all time, but Joey Votto is my favorite current player just because he's been so good at the Reds for so long. But I don't know how much he bounces back. I know I'm kind of rambling here, but I think you're right, Scott. I was very pessimistic, and Reds fans are naturally pessimistic. But you might be right. They might be like 84 wins, 85 wins.
I mean, it's a division where 4 teams you can throw a blanket over them. We know the Pirates aren't going to be good, but I could see anybody else winning the division.
So my other late outfielder, speaking, because we're talking NL Central, I'm going to stick there. Nice little segue. I really like Jock Peterson at his price. ADP is about 230, so that puts him in round 16, a 15-teamer. Brutal 2020, hit 190, only 7 home runs. But All the other stuff kind of stayed. His hard hit rate maintained nicely at 44%. Still a double-digit barrel rate guy. He's a career 2 type guys. I think he's going to play more in Chicago. There's not going to be the in and out of the lineup. He had a bunch of times in LA. Looks really good in spring training. That doesn't mean a ton, but you like your guys to be locked in a little bit before the season starts. I just think that he pick 16. I think if it's got to be the right build, but he's going to hit 30 plus home runs. You give me that bit in round 16, I'm going to take that every time.
Yeah, I see the argument. I worry about the playing time. I worry about whether, I know they're saying they're going to let him hit against lefties, but does that last past the first 1 for 20 slump against lefties? I don't know. We'll see. Right. Or does he actually become one of those where, he can actually hit against lefties? Cue Gene McCaffrey's music here about complaints about, platooning lefties and putting them in that box so they can't hit it, even though they've never gotten the chance to. But I don't know. That's the one thing that keeps me down on him just a little bit. But I see the logic.
The other side of that McCaffrey thing is that what happens when a guy who has been platooned, say, against lefties, plays all the time, he's likely to hit righties better because he stays more in the flow of playing every day. And I also think there's a value to not running into that Colorado. You're 2 for 11. We're going to give you a day off because you're in a slump. Just knowing you're in the lineup card every day and you don't have to go 3 for 5 or hit a 450-foot home run to make sure you're playing the next day. I just worry that there are exploitable holes in Peterson's swing, and he just strikes me as the type of guy. Everybody has peaks and valleys, but he strikes me as the type of guy who on May 1st could be hitting 162, and nobody would be surprised by it.
Yeah, he's definitely a streaky guy. I like that in that lineup. There's 2 kind of spots at the end where he's gonna hit top 6 because Hayward and whoever's playing second base, whether it be Horner, Bote, or whatever it may be, Bodie, I think. I think that he sticks top 6. I think being a lefty, he's gonna help him a little bit. I think he probably hits 5th maybe. I don't know. I really liked him in 2019. The power, I think, is very, very real. You got to accept a little bit of batting average risk, but I think you're looking at 30 plus home runs, and it's not that easy to find that down here in the 220s, 230s, especially if the ball's a little bit dead. And I think he's a guy that the dead ball won't affect him very much.
Well, it just didn't get you ready to draft. I don't know. What did we talk about? 170 guys?
I was going to say, we were going to talk about one each, and we ended up talking about 14 each at every position. Is there anybody else that is on your guys' mind that you have to get out there in the world before we get out of here?
I want to say I like Kelton Wong, and I don't know what to do with Hira, so I haven't been drafting him.
I like Wong too. Do you think he runs? Is my only thing with him, because you probably need him to run a little bit for that pick to work.
He'll supplement run. He'll 9 stolen base or 11 stolen base run, if that means anything for you. I also find myself with an nervous, anxious amount of Jackie Bradley Jr. I told Derek Van Riper, our mutual friend, I said, when his Brewers signed JBJ off my Red Sox, I said, I look forward to you talking yourself into JBJ about 2 or 3 times a year, and at the end of the year thinking, why did I have any faith? After he's gone 1 for 13 in the playoffs or something and struck out 9 times. But man, great defensive player, and he has category juice. He will hit some home runs, and he will steal probably 12 bases.
I'll just close with still on TJ Antone's train.
Love it. Draft him today.
Yeah, and the fact that Lorenzen kind of had a sore shoulder today only enhances my hype on him. Antone had the groin thing, and that might have cooled the hype just for a little bit. They want to have Wade Miley in the rotation and all that, but now the fact that Amir Garrett and Lucas Sims are starting to throw more too lessens the need for him to pitch in the bullpen. I know there's some talk about them wanting to maybe start that ace reliever role. Good. That's fine. He'll get his wins there. He'll come in the 3rd inning after Miley has to, leave or whatever. But and the Reds will rally with our Moustakas and Castellanos shares, and we'll just benefit from all of that. Rising tide lifts all boats.
I'm so in on Antone. Did you like a closer in Cincinnati?
I'm on Amir Garrett a little bit.
Okay.
I've gotten him in a couple places so far.
I'm saying it right now. I'm going to put it out. The Reds are going to win more than 81.5. Go out and get that before the books adjust. Don't tell me you got 84 on opening day. Go get that 81.5 and pound the over.
I got both Garrett and Sims, by the way, in friends and family. So hopefully I'm covered, and they don't pull a Padres on me and say, oh. But I also have Antone. So
remember, side bets are mandatory in that league. At least.
Yeah. What do you want to do? $50?
50, 100.
Yep, 100 to win, 50 otherwise.
You good, Scott?
I'm in on bat with both you guys. Yes.
Awesome.
All right, great.
Done.
So just since we're in the NL Central, my last one, I think Dylan Carlson's ADP will be 75 to 100 picks higher next year. I think he just has it, and I think we're going to see it all year long. I love him at the price, and I think he's going to be a fifth rounder next year.
Sassy,
I can see that. I like it too.
Yeah, if anybody's still listening, I'll give him some good info at the end. Well, thanks everybody for listening. Scott, what's more? Pump where people can find your work, where people can find you on Twitter, etc.
Sure. Scott_Pianowski, Yahoo Sports, and fantasy football. I'm doing a podcast every couple of weeks. Breakfast Table with Michael Salfino, which is a premium podcast. So I'm all over the place, and catch me with Liz and Jeff on the RotoWire show on Thursdays.
Well, we very much thank you for joining us. There are very few people in the world I just like talking about general sports more than you, so I do appreciate that. Jeff, anything you wanna pump? Tell us who's on the podcast with you the rest of the week.
Well, I've got a book Thursday still,
all right.
But Tuesday I've got double duty. We're doing Better Golf, which you may have heard of, with Jeff Ritter joining us. Myself and Scott Jenstad, of course, and Jeff Ritter. So me being like traffic cop to two experts, basically, is what that is. And then on Tuesday, Fred Zinke and I also have the RotoWire pod. So good. That's been a ton of fun too. And I'm in too many leagues with Fred. Although it's great.
You want to hurt your EV and write Fred Zinke. Yeah.
Yeah, I was picking between Scott and Fred, and was a lot of fun on Wednesday. Let me tell you.
That was
by the way, also I'll mention that the three of us were in that Friends and Family League. We did a big, major review of that where everybody talks about their drafts. So.
Was that up?
Just if you look at it's on my Twitter. If you look on my timeline, you'll find it, or by my author page. But
I think you got like 15 of 16 people actually write in with their paragraphs and steals and reaches. It was a really good article. I really enjoyed getting through it.
Yeah, I think it's a good piece. It gives you it basically puts you in the war room of everybody in that league. So that's always, it's long, but I think there's a lot of good info in it.
Yeah, it was. I really enjoyed it too. So thanks everybody for listening to the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. If you want to follow me on Twitter, I'm at Scott Jensen. I suppose I should throw that out there. Other than that, we'll be back at you next Sunday, probably discussing some main event drafts. I think Jeff and I will both have a main event by the time next Sunday comes around. We're talking about a lot of news and notes. We'll get a lot of lineup stuff and guys going to the minors and rotation decisions and all that. So we're going to have a lot to talk about next week. Looking forward to that. And it'll be the last one before we have games. So looking forward to actually getting some guys on the field. So thanks everybody for listening to the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. We greatly appreciate it. Always please rate and review the podcast. Also, hope everybody has a good week. We'll be back at you next Sunday. Take care. All righty.